All right, let's get ready to dive in.
Yeah.
Today we're looking at the world of fitness and physical therapy. Specifically, this presentation comparing IsoTone, a new resistance training device, to those classic rubber bands.
Rubber bands.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the ones we all know and maybe love.
Or love to hate, right?
Yeah, exactly. Could IsoTone be like the next big thing?
Well, it's interesting because those rubber bands have been around forever. They're affordable. Everyone knows what they are. They're so versatile. But, this presentation really tries to show why IsoTone might just change everything.
Okay, so let's break it down. First, the basics.
Okay.
Rubber resistance bands. I mean, we all know them, right? Those stretchy loops, you use them for all sorts of exercises. You stretch them, they give you resistance, different colors for different strengths.
Right.
And that means, of course, to really get a good workout, you need a ton of different bands.
A whole collection, yeah. And that's one of the first things that really stood out to me about IsoTone. It's one compact device. And it's designed to adjust the resistance automatically, like based on how much effort you're putting in. So you don't have to have all those different bands.
So that adjustability is super key, not just for fitness, but also for rehab.
Yeah.
So what does this presentation say about, like, how they compare?
Well, with rubber bands, obviously, you have to keep swapping them out.
Yeah.
Depending on what exercise you're doing, how strong you're getting.
Right.
It really breaks up your workout. And the other thing is the resistance in a rubber band, it's not really consistent as you stretch it.
Oh, so it's harder to really, like, target specific muscles.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's where IsoTone comes in. It's smooth and continuous, and it adjusts to your effort.
Right. You don't have to adapt to the band. It adapts to you.
Wow.
It's almost like having a personal trainer who knows exactly how much resistance to give you. And that could be a huge advantage, especially for someone new to exercise or if you're recovering from an injury.
Especially if you need that extra level of control.
Right.
Speaking of safety, that's got to be a big concern, especially for rehab.
Absolutely.
Rubber bands, I mean, we've all been there.
It can snap.
They snap. It's annoying, and it can be dangerous, right?
Totally, yeah. And the presentation really highlights that risk, especially for beginners or if you have limited mobility and you might not have that control. It could cause a real injury.
Okay, so that's a point for IsoTone. But what about portability? I mean, we're all busy. We're on the go. What does the presentation say about how easy these are to take with you?
Well, rubber bands, no question. They're light, easy to throw in a bag.
Right.
But they do wear out.
Yeah.
They break, even if you're careful with them.
Okay, so you might end up replacing them a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas with IsoTone, it's one compact device. And it sounds like it's built to last.
For years, yeah.
So that's appealing, especially if you're thinking about, being efficient, sustainable.
Absolutely. And it's made from really strong materials. So it can withstand a lot of use. It's not going to break down on you in the middle of a workout.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
But how easy is it to actually use? Like, we don't want something super complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the presentation makes a good point that, rubber bands, they seem simple, but to use them right can actually be tricky.
Interesting.
You have to have the right tension. You have to be positioning them correctly. You have to be thinking about your form, so you don't hurt yourself.
So there's a learning curve.
For sure.
And even if you know what you're doing, you still have that risk of it snapping at any moment.
Exactly. And it seems like with IsoTone, they've really tried to design it to be intuitive and easy to use.
Okay.
No matter what your fitness level is. The resistance is smooth and controlled, so you're not going to have those jerky movements or sudden jolts that could lead to injuries.
So it sounds like for ease of use and safety, IsoTone might have a bit of an edge, especially for people who are just starting out or in rehab.
Yeah, I think so.
What about different applications? I mean, both of these can be used for a lot of different things, right?
Oh, tons. Rehab, strength training, flexibility, you name it.
Yeah.
Both rubber bands and IsoTone, they're both incredibly versatile. You can use them to strengthen specific muscles, improve your range of motion, even add resistance to your cardio.
But with all that adaptability, does the presentation say if IsoTone is maybe better for, like, rehab or strength training?
Yeah, they definitely highlight that as, some of its strengths, and that continuous resistance that seems to be a big advantage in both areas.
Okay, I'm curious, how does that continuous resistance actually work in, like, real life?
Okay, imagine you're doing, like, a bicep curl with a rubber band.
Okay.
So as you lift, the resistance gets, stronger, but it's kind of jerky.
Yeah.
It's unpredictable. And that can make it hard to, keep good form and also to really target the muscles you want to work.
So it's not really working with you.
No, exactly. But with IsoTone, it adjusts, dynamically to your effort. through the whole movement. So if you're struggling, the resistance eases up a little bit so you don't lose your form. And then as you get stronger, it increases to, match your progress.
It's like having like a spotter who knows exactly when to help you out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool. And since we're all about getting the most out of our workouts, let's talk about muscle engagement.
Yeah.
Because, that's really what it's all about, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Making sure your muscles are working as hard as possible.
That's the key. And the presentation actually suggests that IsoTone might be better for that too. Because with rubber bands, that resistance, how it's always changing.
Yeah.
They say that can actually make them less effective for building strength.
So you could be pushing yourself, but your muscles aren't really getting the full benefit.
Right, because that varying tension, it makes it hard to consistently target the right muscles.
Oh, interesting.
So you might end up using other muscles to compensate, or you might not be fully engaging the muscles you're trying to work.
Okay, so with IsoTone, because that resistance is so consistent, your muscles are like working at their peak the whole time.
Exactly. You're maximizing the efficiency. All that effort's really going to, get you results. Now, of course, this is just one presentation and it's, presenting IsoTone in a very positive light.
Right. And we always encourage our listeners to be critical thinkers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't just take our word for it. Do your own research.
Yeah. Read reviews.
Maybe even try IsoTone for yourself before you decide anything.
Exactly. What works for one person might not work for everyone.
Right.
So finding the right fitness tools, it's a personal thing, but having access to information like this presentation, I think it really helps people make those decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, what are the big takeaways for our listeners when they're comparing IsoTone to rubber bands?
I think the biggest takeaway is IsoTone seems to offer a level of personalization and adaptability that you just don't get with traditional resistance bands.
That personalized resistance, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It seems like that could be a huge change for people no matter what their fitness level is.
Right, whether you're recovering from an injury or you're a serious athlete.
And rubber bands, while they definitely have their place, it sounds like they could be a bit limiting.
Yeah.
In terms of that consistent resistance and, how easy they are to use.
Exactly. And it seems like IsoTone has really addressed those limitations. It's a more controlled, more efficient workout.
And it sounds like it's built to last.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep replacing it like you do with rubber bands.
Exactly. But, like with any fitness tool, it comes down to what you prefer, what you need.
Right.
IsoTone might not be for everyone, but it definitely has some pretty big advantages over those traditional resistance bands.
This has been so interesting just looking at how resistance training has evolved. It makes you wonder what other innovations are coming in the future.
Oh, I know. The possibilities are endless.
Right.
It's really exciting to think about how technology will continue to, change the way we approach fitness and well-being.
Well said. So on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into IsoTone versus rubber bands. We hope you found it, informative and maybe even got you thinking a little bit.
As always, we encourage you to stay curious, stay active, and keep exploring the world of fitness.
And if you ever find any, interesting research or presentations you'd like us to unpack, send them our way. We love a good challenge.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy training. Okay, so we've talked a lot about IsoTone and those, classic rubber bands. What really jumps out to you? What could be the big game changer here?
If we zoom out a little, I think it's the way IsoTone can kind of bridge that gap between rehab and regular strength training. You can go from that gentle, controlled resistance to more challenging workouts as you get stronger. That's pretty powerful.
It's like it grows with you on your fitness journey.
Exactly.
And if you're recovering from an injury, that could be huge,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
You don't have to switch between different devices or deal with the limitations of rubber bands.
Exactly. It could be the one tool you need for your whole recovery and, even beyond that.
This has been so fascinating seeing how technology is really changing what's possible in fitness and rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how IsoTone is taking something as basic as resistance training and making it even better.
Right. It's a good reminder that innovation doesn't always have to be, super complicated.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about taking something simple and just finding ways to improve it.
Totally. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive into IsoTone versus rubber bands. Hopefully you found it, insightful and maybe even a little inspiring.
Absolutely. And as always, we encourage you to stay curious, stay active, and keep exploring, all the possibilities out there in fitness and rehab.
And if you ever find any cool research or presentations you'd like us to dig into, you know what to do. Send them our way.
Yeah, we love a good challenge.
All right. Until next time, happy training, everyone.